Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
My guest is Linda Sauget. If you have been reading Boomer Times, and I hope you have been, you will recognize her name. She is an author of something called If You Think It. And Linda is a very positive person, but it's one thing to be very positive, but when you write about things that are very positive, that even puts another stamp of approval on it. So let's just talk about this, Linda. Welcome to our show first.
Thank you, Anita. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and I love to talk to you when we have this kind of time. Usually we're always doing so many things. We're in a mad pace to go somewhere, but now I caught you for almost 30 minutes. So let's just think about this. If You Think It, that's a very interesting title. If you think it bad, or if you think it good, or if you don't think it, what does that all mean?
What that means is what you think about comes about. You know, that our lives move in the direction of our thoughts. And it's not magic, it's not anything except that what we think about and what we focus on and what we put our attention on, that is where our lives move. That's just a fact. And so if you have the choice, and we all do, I choose to focus on positive things. And when negative things happen, I choose to see what is the lesson, or how could I think about this in a different way so that I can at least learn something, move on, and not dwell on negative things or bad things. Because I truly know that our lives move in the direction of our thoughts. So why would I want to think about bad and negative things? Doesn't mean that those things don't happen, but you don't have to focus on them in a bad way or in a negative way. So if you think it, as you think, so shall it be.
Now that's very important in most things. But when someone dies, or someone's in a terrible accident, or we have, as some of the mass killings we've had, how do you utilize that thinking for that?
You know, I'm going to give you an example just that happened to me a week or two ago. One of my key employees unexpectedly died, 53 years old, of a heart attack, and it was totally unexpected. This really put everybody in our company. He was very well liked and loved, and he had two very important clients that he managed. So just from a business standpoint, it was, tragic, and from a personal standpoint. And you can't make sense out of that. You can't turn that into this is a great thing. It's not. It was terrible on every level. So, but what are the choices that you have there? There's a natural mourning period, but you can't stay there. You can't dwell on it, because no amount of dwelling on it will change it. So a lot of things that happen that are bad, whether it's mass shootings or somebody unexpectedly dying, you can't turn that into something good, but you also can't change it. And so there's a little bit of acceptance that has to go around that. Not instantly. You can't just from 1 minute to the next move there. I mean, there's going to be a natural period of time where there's sadness, there's loss. But I guess my thought is, how long do you stay? And it's individual for everyone. But given that there's nothing that you can do about it, how can you move yourself forward? And what lessons can you learn out of this? In our company, we learned a lot of lessons out of this employee's passing. And one of them is that, as a company, we're a close-knit company. It's a large company, 350 employees. But a lot of teams and valuing each other. But we sort of learned we need to tell each other that. We know that with our loved ones, to say that you love your loved ones. But your coworkers, do you ever stop to appreciate them, tell them how much you value them, how much you like them? Because that was the feeling that we all had when this person passed is, did we ever really stop to tell him how valued he was? So that's a lesson that we took from, a very sad and tragic event. So there's just a lot of things in life that don't make sense. They'll never make sense. But it also is, that's just what is. There's nothing we can do about it.
And when you were talking, I was thinking about some of the people who've lost a loved one from cancer and now in heart, and how there have been great programs that have started because of that. So I was thinking about what you were saying, and that's probably one way to look at it.
Well, and that's true. When I say you can't do anything about it, there are a lot of tragic situations where it defines people's lives. Like, look at John Walsh. When his son was murdered, it defined his whole life and all the good that he's done in the world since then, with the Child Resource Center and with law enforcement and America's Most Wanted. And so sometimes horrific things end up galvanizing people so that it becomes like a mission for them to cure cancer, to raise money, or to do amber laws and legislative changes. So on the one hand, when I say there's nothing you can do about it, well, there's nothing you can do to bring a person back that has been killed or died, but that's taking the lesson too. It's like, well, what lesson? How can we turn this bad situation into something better, into a lesson, into something good? And so that's a good example, Anita, with someone dying of cancer, and then all the work that goes toward raising money to try and cure it.
Do you think that people can be taught to do what you encourage them to do, or is that something inside them that comes naturally?
I really believe it can be taught. I know it can be taught. I don't think we teach it. I think part of this is not something that you learn in school, and if you are not raised in a family where this is modeled and so taught that way or talked about, it is not something that we might not be exposed to it very much, but it's absolutely something we can learn. And it sometimes takes reinforcement, and it takes self-reinforcement to just stop in your tracks and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and tell yourself, I'm not going to be depressed. I'm not going to ruin my life over this situation, or I'm not going to just keep thinking such depressing thoughts. I mean, we have to snap ourselves out of it. I think it can be taught. I think it can be self-taught as well. There are loads of books on the topic, and classes and seminars and many resources to train our minds, to train the way we think, to live consciously, to live mindfully.
I was thinking as you were talking about support groups, as a matter of fact, maybe support groups is a perfect outcome of, years and years ago, there weren't support groups. People just were families. And usually you didn't share your problems with outside people, strangers. But now people find that to be a wonderful way to get through things, and maybe they share, and maybe that's part of why human beings can survive some very difficult times.
And Anita, there are support groups online. So if somebody wants to have anonymity but have somebody to talk to, there are online counselors, there are online bloggers who write about and then communicate with people. They write about an issue and then communicate with people who respond to their blogs. And there are online support groups. So there is a lot of help out there for people. And I just believe that it's so much better to feel good about yourself, to find good things to think about and feel about, our, the famous saying, our days are numbered. And so I want to spend my days contributing to others and feeling good about myself and my family, doing positive things. I don't want to spend my days thinking about problems and being down. And I think that's a choice. It's not that bad things don't happen. If you want a catalog of all the bad things in my life, Anita, you know a lot of them. It's not like that I'm skipping down the yellow brick road and nothing ever happens. Anita, you know a lot of the things in my life, a lot of, just like everybody's life,
right.
A lot of challenges and bad things happen. But I just choose to take them and go with the flow.
I think that's why we both admire each other, because that's our philosophy. We don't see things that way. It's funny, we just had our Cure Symposium, and we ordered too many box lunches. We miscalculated because I didn't want not for people to be hungry. And some of the volunteers said, "Oh, isn't that a shame? Look at all the money you lost." They started down that track. And I said, "Stop." I said, "I don't really care about that. Let's just focus in on how wonderful the Cure Symposium is, and we'll just give these boxes to people who want lunch."
That's so great. And Anita, that is true, because that is how you are. I see you that way in business and in your personal life. I mean, you're never stuck. It's not that things don't happen, but you just, open a different door, go down a different path. You're always, and that's the sign of someone who is always thinking about what's next. What can I do? How can I make something better? How can I help someone? How can I contribute to someone? So you're always thinking in that terms. You're right. That's probably what we see in each other that, we so respect.
I know it. Well, let me ask you, though, where do you find these great quotes? I mean, do you have a book of quotes, or you just, everything you read, you find the quote and you write it down somewhere? Because your quotes are so appropriate for the articles you write each month.
Well, in the beginning, when if you think it is a compilation of quotations all about your thoughts, how your thoughts, your attitudes, the way you look at things, your outlook, all of the quotes are related to that by all the most famous people in the world for the last 2,500 years. I did collect those over the course of years. And so that was just a matter of reading, and when I found something with that theme, I kept it in a notebook and wrote it down. But now, if I am, now in the day of the Internet, if I want to look for a quote, if I'm working with a topic, and say the topic is friendship or love or business or whatever the topic is, you can Google that. You can look up authors. You could put in an author's name, quotations by Mark Twain. So I have favorite authors that I know are philosophically aligned with my thinking, so I might look them up specifically, or I might Google just a topic, and that just opens the world. The Internet has changed the world. Everything is at our fingertips. We don't have to go to a library. We just have access to unlimited information at our fingertips. So that's where I find my quotations.
And then usually your columns are different. They always wind up meaning the same thing, that there's always something positive in everything. But do you get this from in your subconscious as you're sleeping, while you're taking a shower, while you're driving? How do you come up with, okay, it's time for me to write another article this month for Boomer Times. Let's see what it's going to be.
It's so funny because I say to myself every month when I am doing the column, I need to stockpile a few. I need to write a few and have them in my inventory so that when the time is due to turn in the column, I have one. And I never do. I haven't had the time yet to stockpile them. So I'm writing a fresh column every month right before the due date.
Right.
And it's just, it's amazing. I don't know how ideas come to me, but a situation may be going on in my life, or with my family. And so those might be directed to somebody or some situation or something, in a veiled way. It might be a message that I want to convey to somebody. Or I might see a quote, or I might hear a story. And so, I'm like, my ears are always open. I'm always in tune for lessons, things that inspire me. And so when I come across that, somehow I turn it into a column. And I have said this, I want to do this because from the first time I sit down and I write a draft of a column to the final one that I turn in, it is amazing to watch the evolution. And I've never tracked all my changes because I change and I edit right on my same version. So what I would love to do one of these times is keep copying and pasting the previous version because that evolution of where I start and what I end up with sometimes is really different. So it's just an evolution when I start writing and I start editing and changing it. It just evolves somehow, and it always comes out, and it comes out on time so that you have it in time for the publication.
And we never know all that's going on, but let me tell everybody, make sure when you pick up your next Boomer Times, go to Linda Sauget. Her last name is spelled Sauget. Go look at her column. It's the headline is Think Yes by Linda Sauget, and you'll see her book if you think it. Now, once you read the column enough, you'll want to get her book because it's filled with quotations, as Linda said, and it seems that every day one of them will fit you perfectly. It's like the Chinese cookie you get. You sometimes you're there having dinner and and you don't know, and it's okay. I don't even want to eat it, but let's look at the fortune. And darn if it isn't exactly right for you. Maybe that's it. Maybe you need to make fortune cookies with your own Linda Sauget quotes in it.
I've had that idea.
Really?
I really have. Like for Christmas gifts.
I think that's a great idea, Linda. Maybe you were putting that into my brain over the radio waves.
I just have to get a fortune cookie recipe, and how do you make them? Because I could definitely insert fortunes, and they would all be positive.
Right.
They would all
well, that's funny you should say that. I went ahead and ordered. I did this for a big dinner party years ago. I ordered 50 fortune cookies, took out the fortune cookie that was in there, and put my own one in.
Oh, my gosh, that is so great.
And
what a great idea.
And we had a wonderful time. We did a lot of sexy talk in there. But that's what you can do so you don't have to make your own. They do come out pretty well. They come out pretty easily.
I love to spread encouragement. And I'll share a secret. I don't think I've ever told you this, but there was a period in my career up until this year where I traveled a lot. And I would be in these hotel rooms, and sometimes when you take a shower and the mirror gets all steamed up, at the very, very top of the mirror, I would write in the steam a positive message, like you're going to succeed today, or good fortune will follow you. Because I know that unless the maids get all the way to the top of the mirror,
she'll never see
that
it.
When the next person steams up the room from the shower, they're going to step out of the shower and see a positive message.
Oh, that is just great. In fact,
that is going to make their day.
That's what the hotel should be doing. They should have something that has a positive. They should have it just in there. You ought to tell. I think you just created something called Linda's Positive Messages, and get hotels to do it all over the world.
Oh, I think that'd be so great, because just imagine yourself away on business, and you're getting up early to go to a meeting, and you step out of the shower and you see a positive message on the mirror.
Right. It is. Well, of course, you could always write it in pen, too, but I don't think they would like that. But
but I do. I think it's so important to encourage people. There's a lot of negative messages in the world. Just listen to the news, and you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
I mean, there's just a lot, and there's just in our lives, there's just stress and things to deal with and challenges, and so that's a fact of life. I mean, that's just how it is. But I like to encourage people, like give people a break from that pounding that our minds take from negative messages all around us. It might be somebody yelling at their kid in a parking lot, which just I think is so terrible that it just drives me crazy when I see parents being so mean to little children. But you know, you just see those kinds of things around us in the world, and I just like to put out as much of the opposite of that as I can. Smile at people, be friendly to people, be kind to people. That is a random act of kindness. Just
that's a good one.
Smile at someone and be kind and friendly. A lot of people don't have that in their life.
Linda, that was a great phrase that someone came up with, wasn't it? A random act of, and I read the book. And it's true. Just do something that's really special. And it's funny, I just came having lunch at one of the fast food restaurants, and I was sitting there eating, and I was observing people, and I noticed that one particular woman had the longest look on her face. She never smiled. She was behind the counter, and another woman was so friendly. She came up even to me and said, "Is everything okay?" And she had a different outfit on than the other woman, and so when she came by, I said, "Can I ask you a question?" So I said, "Are you the manager?" She said, "No, I'm just a worker." She's the manager. It's the one with the long look. So nothing would do with the long look lady came over. Is there something wrong? I could help you? I said, no, thank you. And then they all left and, were doing other things. And she still had this long look. People came in. I really wanted to report. In my heart, I wanted to report her to the company and say, you have such good food, but this person. But I didn't say anything. And then when I saw the other woman again, and I said, I want you to know your smile is so nice. And that woman who says she's a manager, she needs a smile. So the woman came up to me again, and said, I think she didn't like the fact I was having such a friendly conversation with her helper. Isn't that funny?
That is.
But it was a random act of kindness because I think that lady who wasn't the manager was very happy.
Exactly. I mean, it's so easy to do. I mean, it's just so easy to be kind to people, to be friendly to people, to be helpful, and that is spreading goodwill. And I think we need as much of that as we can get all around us.
Well, Linda Sauget, we know that there are people who will say that they would have done something pretty bad with their life if one person hadn't said something a particular way, mostly nice or helpful, that made the difference for that person to have maybe not committed a terrible crime or suicide or something. Just, you never know by being friendly or what you can do to help someone who's struggling.
It's absolutely true because we don't know all of the challenges that people face. They might look like, nothing's wrong, but you don't know the personal challenges, physical challenges, family challenges, business challenges, financial challenges. You don't know the kinds of things that people deal with on a daily basis. And just being a beacon of light, just being a friendly face in the crowd, and you are that. I mean, that's one reason why you have such a magnetic personality, is because you are always kind to everybody. You're outgoing. You're just such a pleasure to be with and pleasant to be with, and that energy spreads like ripples in a pond. It's infectious. It infects everybody. It's why everyone loves to be around you.
Oh, you're very sweet. Well, let me tell you something I just did. I just thought, you're thinking about you and what you would say. I'm sitting here in the studio and I'm talking to you, and I noticed there were a couple of threads on one of my little favorite black blouses I have on. So nothing would do. I took a scissor to cut the thread, but maybe it was dark here. Was that ever happened? I cut into the blouse.
Oh, no.
So I have this tiny little hole, right? And I'm looking at it. I have a white skirt on, so of course it shows right through, but it's okay. And I'm saying, okay, so I'm going to ask her. No, I'm not going to ask her. Let me think about it. And I said, you know what? Two things. I can either take it and get that something that's a certain kind of an adhesive that backs it up and you won't see it, or I can just go buy another blouse, which I probably should do.
Very good. You learn the lesson. It's like, why worry about it? Just take action and do something else.
I think that's really that's very strange, but it's just more of what you said. And lately, there are so many people who you and I both know, actually, struggling with some insurmountable situations. And they do get through it. They do, and I guess they pull from, maybe as a parent, what you have given that child now as they grow up, something. And it's really, I call out to grandparents and to parents, the way that you treat your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, you may not think they're hearing, and you can't tell them, but if you do what you tell them to do, if you just do it, they'll catch it, they'll see it, and they will become very much of what you believe. Do you believe that, Linda?
I totally believe that. I really do. And I think it's true with our children. I think it's true with our employees. I think with our friends and neighbors. In other words, I think it was Gandhi who said, be the change you want to see in the world. You be it. You be what you walk your talk, be what you're preaching, just be it. And that will have an impact on everyone around you.
Good. Well, you've made a great impact on everyone, especially me, as usual, when we talk. And you're welcome. And I know that people love your column. They talk about it. They see you. Oh, you write that column. Anyway, I just think, and underneath your column it wasn't this month. It was actually the last month. It was September. I wrote, the greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising up every time we fail, by Ralph Waldo Emerson.
So true. That kind of summarizes what we've been saying.
Yes, okay, Linda, thank you. It does, and go have a wonderful day because you've made ours that way.
Thank you so much. You have a great day, too.
Thank you, Linda. Bye.